Today we got a great episode. We are going to talk about what if you have a motivated seller on the line, but is not ready to do business. Man, I am excited for today's show, but if you have not been to our website, go ahead and check out NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com/script, NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com/script. And there I've got a gift for you. This is the exact script that we use in our business to talk to motivated sellers. If you've been listening to podcasts or YouTube, or you've been looking to get educated to do that first deal and lock up that contract, you got to download this thing, right? This is the exact tool, word for word. I wish I had it when I got started, because once you have the script, you're going to be able to talk to a seller and know, hey, do you have a contender or a pretender? Do you have someone who's motivated or not ready to do business, right? So go ahead and download it, NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com/script, my free gift to you. And let's go lock up some deals. So that being said, let's listen to today's question.
Hi, it's Nathan. Let's say with somebody who's maybe on the fence a bit as far as following up. So you kind of said already that you would, follow up with that was somebody with an unreasonable price. You'd send an email or written offer. But what about somebody who's sort of on the fence? They don't have they got the motivation, but they're not really ready to sell, and they're a little wishy-washy. Like, are you following up monthly, every couple of weeks?
So, Nathan, great question. And the description that you just mentioned of a seller is like 85% of sellers, right? Anyone who calls us or says, hey, they're looking to sell, they've got some kind of motivation, right? Otherwise, they would have said, hey, I'm not really interested in selling, right? So think about that. 80 to 85% of the people you talk to have some level of motivation, but probably aren't ready to sell right now. So most real estate investors, most wholesalers out there, they are always looking for that low-hanging fruit, right? They're just running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And it's like trying to hit a moving target. If you're always shooting in different places, the chances of the target being in the same exact place that you're shooting is very low if you're not shooting in the same place. And so we have a rule that if someone is motivated, we follow up with them until they die. And when they die, we're going to follow up with their heirs. And so you asked, how often should we follow up with that person? Well, if someone has motivation, we're going to follow up once a week, right? Once a week, unless told otherwise. Now, is an exception to that, and I'm going to give you some things to kind of shorten that cycle here. But I would say no less than once a week. I'm going to tell you that do not get lazy here. I've seen more deals lost over the years because someone said, I just decided to follow up in a couple months because they weren't that motivated. I can tell you that sellers in general, they are guarded, right? They don't pour their heart out to you. You are there to buy your house for cash. They know that you are in the business, or they should know that you are in the business for trading a little bit of their equity for your speed and convenience. And because of that, they're not dying to tell you that they're ready to sell absolutely right now. So don't get lazy. I'd follow up once a week unless they tell you otherwise. So the next thing that you should be doing is you should be getting commitments. So at the end of every single phone call, there needs to be a next action, right? And I say a date and a time to talk next, right? Don't get wishy-washy. Don't be like, let's talk next week, right? That's weak. Don't say, let's talk Wednesday. That's weak. Don't say, let's talk Wednesday morning. That's weak. No. Say, let's speak on Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'm going to book this right in my calendar. I'm going to put it right here on my phone and in my planner. I just want to make sure that that exact time works for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Are you sure that you can make it? Because I'm going to carve this out of my schedule. Get them to commit. Yes. Now, remember what I just said about those times, by the way. This is how you keep the line tight. This is how you bring in the big fish. Because if they're not motivated, really, if they're not, they're not a seller, they may say, whoa, and you're going to flush out a new objections. I love to squeeze those commitments. I love to squeeze those timelines, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually see my hands. But if you're listening to this on a podcast, right, if I squeeze those timelines and compress them, all this stuff comes out. I love it, right? And so you're going to get objections, or it's going to drive you closer to the deal, right? Just don't be like, hey, I'll call you next. I'll miss. Nothing's happened. I'll call you next week. I'll call you next week. I'll call you next week. Man, I can tell you, this is like the merry-go-round from hell. So make sure you keep the line tight. All right. The next thing is you do want to build rapport. You want to make a friend and you want to have that level 3 rapport. I've done episodes on rapport before. Level 1 is just chit chat, right? Persons, places, things. You like this football team. I like that football team. Oh, that picture of you and your family at Disney World. Oh, we love Disney World. That's great. Level 2 is when all of a sudden they teach you something. So for me, if you know me, I love growing tomatoes. And so all of a sudden, I go in the backyard or I'm listening and they are now teaching me. Let's say they're an expert also about growing tomatoes, how to grow big, juicy, giant, superhuman, genetically altered tomatoes, right? And so that's a level 2. Level 3 is we built such a good relationship now that they give me a barrel, a basket of tomatoes with their mother's embroidered hand embroidered napkin over the tomatoes that I bring home to my family. Right? That is level 3 rapport. And so you really, really want to take this time to build that. If you've got motivation, they're not quite ready. You want to be the go-to by building that rapport. Man, if you build rapport and learn how to get commitments, man, you're going to bring in some big fish. What are some big fish? Big fish are 40, 50, 60, $100,000 real estate deals that are going to explode your bank account. I can't emphasize this enough. Do big deals. Don't do those little squirt deals, okay? Those are the game changers in this business. Okay. Next is ask the tough questions, right? If for whatever reason you are not pushing the ball forward, you smell the motivation, I will say, hey, Mr. Seller, let me ask you a question. We've been talking for 4, 5, 6 months. Nothing's happened, right? Can I ask you, what has to happen for us to do business? And then listen. Or I might say, Mr. Seller, we've been talking for a while, right? Let me ask you. It seems like we've kind of gone nowhere, right? What aren't you telling me? Or what's really holding you back? Or what's keeping you up at night? And then zip it. Ask those tough questions. Dig deep, really deep, okay? And you're going to find those answers. Your competition is not doing this. They suck. They don't listen to the podcast. Don't worry about your competition. I don't know about you, but I've got 100 things I could fix about my business. You probably do too, okay? So that's why I love this stuff, okay? Another little trick here is sometimes they're stuck. There's some emotion tied to that. So I love to use past, present, and future pain. What is past, present, and future pain? Well, this is something I talk a lot about in the no limit selling system. And if you're looking for the exact step-by-step system that I use to train my salespeople how to lock up huge, juicy deals over the phone and in person, you've got to check out the no limit selling system. I remember when I first got started training my first acquisition specialist, this guy couldn't close a door. He was introverted, couldn't get 2 words out of his mouth. Sellers were beating him up over the phone, crushing his confidence. And after 3 weeks, I'm thinking, man, this is not going to work. Long story short, I had a coach who said, hey, Todd, you've got to take everything that I've taught you and get it on a paper and create a step-by-step system to make it happen. Long story short, I did exactly that. I coached Brian up. 3 weeks later, Brian locks up his first deal for $37,000. Next couple of days, he locks up something else. I think that was like a $27,000 deal. A couple days later, we lock up another monster. Don't know how much that third one was, but it was a monster, right? And again, this is the no limit selling system that I talk about. So if you want to check that out, go to nolimitsalessystem.com to check that out. But let me talk a little bit about past, present, and future pain, because this is the technique that I just talked about, Brian, that we used on our first deal. So the seller, for whatever reason, they have some kind of pain going on with the property. So I'll ask, what have they gone through in the past on the property, right? So tell me a little bit about, the tenant situation with your daughter, right? What's gone on in the past. It sounds like she's been a great tenant, right? Of course, notice a little stealth mismatch there. And that means I'm going the opposite of what she thinks she's going to say. And so then she's going, well, she hasn't paid the rent and it was horrible and they haven't fixed, anything. And there was that one time where there's a water leak and they called us up at 2 a.m. and we had to fix it and they haven't even paid rent in 2 months. And, she told us that she was going to be out of the property in 6 months and now it's been 2 years. That's the past pain. Okay. I'll say, okay, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on. It's probably better right now. Well, no. As a matter of fact, the rent's due and I just paid taxes and my husband's health is not doing good. And I'm just tired. We are getting too old and we can't deal with this. All right. Well, hey, the good thing is, 6 months from now, your daughter is probably going to be paying rent. She's probably back on her feet. She'll probably handle all the repairs. Let me ask you, what does life look like 6 months from now? Oh boy. Now, once you ask that future pain, you ask them what that future looks like. You're going to fast forward that if they don't sell to you and they stay in this current situation, that is the trigger. But you got to warm it up with the past and present because that's going to give them a dose of reality of what that future pain is going to look like. Now, this is a lethal trick. It works really, really well because it's so honest. Because the seller is actually just taking a look into their own world and you are helping them make the best decision for them. So I absolutely love it. Past, present, and future pain. Try it. It works across all situations, and I guarantee you're going to start to see those timelines compress, which only means that you get paid faster, right? That when you compress timelines, that means that you close deals faster. You get sellers off the fence, or you have sellers who you think are going to do business with you. You get them out of your world faster, okay? So that you love talking on the phone and doing a deal. Big note here. I get a lot of students, listeners, one-on-one clients who says, hey, I don't want to be a used car salesman, right? I don't want to, be pushy. This is the opposite of pushy. I never force a deal. Now, I will force a seller out of my world, right? I will say, hey, Mr. Seller, it doesn't sound like we are a fit, right? I think you've got way better options. Why don't you list with a realtor, fix it up, get top price? I don't think I can help you, right? I force it that way because if I've got a deal, they are going to come back. But I always love to compress the time that a seller is going to realize that I am either the option or I'm not. Okay, remember I talked about compression, right? You want to compress everything and it's going to make everything squirt out, right? Including the truth and hopefully a big, fat, juicy wholesale payday. So if you're interested in the No Limit Selling System, don't forget to go to nolimitsalesystem.com. If you want to download a free copy of the script, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script, and I will talk to you on the next episode.